All right, guys, I want to talk a little bit about bracing today. I've done a prior video talking about the brace, the sequence of head position, shoulder, scapular retraction, and then getting tight into the abdominals. If we're not using a belt, we're just doing regular weight training with dumbbells or maybe some light barbells, this is going to work okay. There is a lot more going on to the brace. I just basically go through that sequence to give people an idea, a fundamental understanding of how they should be tightening at their core. If we have tight abdominals, it's going to be really hard to break in the spine one way or the other. It's going to be really hard to get into an anterior or posterior tilt if my abs are flexed and strong. So if we're not using a belt, we want tight abdominals, and I really want to just start thinking about some rigidity, 360 degrees around my body and maintaining that position. If we're using a belt, this changes fundamentally. So once I get this belt on, and there's a couple of different variations. This is an Inzer belt. You see this most commonly in powerlifting, and you'll notice it is 4 inches all the way around. Now there's different types of belts that you see in CrossFit a lot that may be 3 inches in the front and 6 inches in the back. I'm not a big fan of those, and I haven't really seen science on this, but the belt is creating intra-abdominal pressure. I want an equal amount of belt here as I do here. I don't want a thicker or thinner belt on one side or the other. I want an equal amount of tension on both sides. So to me, it's never made sense to use a belt that's thinner on one side or the other, all right? I want a congruent, straight belt all the way around my body. So that's step one. Step two, when you put that guy on, it depends on the matter in which you're lifting, the amount of weight that you're lifting. Just like anything, sequentially, for every loop that you go up, that belt is getting tighter. There's a way that you can begin to use it. So for instance, I do a lot of training without a belt, and then I start to use it. I'll use it looser. So I want just enough belt on there that when I start to get into the brace and the belt, I can just feel it, but I'm using a lot more of my own core stability. I'm using it as a training gauge. Now when I start loading up heavy weights, I'm going to cinch this puppy down as tight as I get. But the technique in using a belt is different than without. Once I get this thing on, I want to concentrate, number one, on placement. It's going to basically be over the center of the navel, even all the way around my body. From here, the way I want to incorporate the belt into the lift is by pushing my body into it. So as opposed to just squeezing abdominals, I want to take a big inhale and then push out 360. I want to push my belly, my lats, my lower rib cage down and into the belt. So as I brace, I'm pushing into it. It's creating intra-abdominal pressure, which basically means internal pressure that's stabilizing my spine. I want an even amount of pressure in the abdominals and my lower back. And the more I push 360 all the way around into that belt and then sustain or hold that tension throughout whatever lift you're doing, the more abdominal pressure is inside, the stronger you're going to be in the core, the less likely you're going to be at risk of a back injury or even worse. That's how you use a belt.